This is season number 19 of Bass Talk Live with Matt Pancraft. BTL is presented by Lowrance, Bass Cat Boats, Aptco, Strike King Lures, Sunline, Big Bite Baits, Spro, X-Zone Lures, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, and Pro Guide Batteries. Hit them with the hook, Jeffries.
PTL coming at you.
Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we are going to talk about bass fishing Tuesday, January 24th. And I went out yesterday to a little pond next to the house. It's a lake, and continued the process of breaking in the new 2023 Bass Cat Cougar. And I wasn't extremely thrilled to see it. 51 degree water temp, January 24th. And they were, I primarily broke it in, but I also worked on some of the new electronics. They were not set up like they should be for January. Fish were moving a lot, which is not fun when you're trying to drop something directly on them. But very interesting. We got a big snowstorm coming in to Oklahoma, which apparently is not going to impact Frank Scalish's journey to the BTL studios in Shawnee, Oklahoma. I called him. I said, Frank, I know you're packing your bags to come down for the 100th show on Thursday, to be in studio, to drop the color number 7, to give away things to the fans. I said, have you seen the weather? And Frank said, dude, I live in Northeast Ohio. He's like, I can handle some snow. I've got a truck. I said, okay, fair enough. So we'll see how Frank gets down here. All right. Good show today. We have an angler in the midst of a career transition from one of the, I think like Robert Carlisle is big over in that world too. I think that's a name that I know too. So I don't want to like slide anybody on the crappie side, but I also don't want to undersell our guest today, because we'll understand that more after. But Kevin Rogers, I guess he's still a professional crappie angler. I want to say former professional crappie angler, but he's still a professional crappie angler. Now he's transitioned over the last couple of years to the bass side. Very interesting dude here with a lot of unique perspectives, and we're going to dive into some of the similarities and some of the conversations, some of the parallel conversations between the two worlds that take place, and then dive into his busy schedule and what his thoughts are after going kind of headfirst into the NPFL the last couple of years, or the TNPFL the last couple of years, and then the MLF Invitationals this year. But before we get to Kevin, I do want to just take note, and I haven't really mentioned this. I went to the Bassmaster website, and I thought it was really cool. There was a thing with Gary Klaus there. There was a thing with Larry Nixon there. And I started thinking, dude, I'm 38 years old. I kind of got my first taste of this in the mid 90s. And there were some guys that were already legends on the Elite Series this year. And granted, you can go over and talk about the legends, Mark Davises and that type that are over on the BPT. But think about this. It is 2023. And on the Elite Series this year, you have Gary Klaus from Phoenix Boats, legend. You have Rick Clunn, Larry Nixon, and David Fritz. Tell me what other game in the world exists where guys can still be relevant and still compete at the highest level and still have that kind of drawing capability and be competing against the 21, 22-year-old guys that are coming in. It's just cool, the legacy that bass fishing has with the longevity of careers, that all 4 of those guys are going to be lacing it up on the Bassmaster Elite Series this year. All right, let's bring in today's guest from Kansas City, Missouri, home of the Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes. the Kelsey, all of it. Kevin Rogers, probably the biggest Chiefs fan out there. Am I wrong on that, Kevin?
No, you're not. We're season ticket. My wife is bigger than I am. The season tickets are hers. She lets me go every now and again. So yeah, thank you for having me on the show. I'm a huge fan. I've been a fan of BTL since I met you in an undisclosed crappie hole in Oklahoma. I don't know how many years ago that was.
Probably 4
4
3
years
or 4.
ago. We met at a boat ramp, right? And I'm like, Who is this guy? The same week I heard your name from Mr. John Soak Up, and I have watched every BTL since then. So I appreciate you having me on. Oh man, I'm a big fan. Me and my buddy Jeff Lewis, we talk about BTL, we talk about bass fishing, and I know your listeners and the guys watching are like, who in the heck is this guy? And who?
No. Like I said, you were. We have a lot of crossover listeners, and you were on Luke's show last year, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I was gonna have you on. I try to not like overlap guests and kind of do different stuff. So I'm sure there's a lot of people who know you from jumping on Luke's show last year. And then also you had a hell of a year on the MPFL. If you followed the MPFL, you were in the top 10 of the Angler of the Year most of the year. You finished the top 20. You had some really good finishes, some really good days in that. So, I mean, you made a name for yourself on the water as well last year on the MPFL, which had to feel good to be in the mix so early into your, I guess, all-in bass fishing journey, which is kind of what we're going to get into today.
Yeah, it felt real good. I mean, my goal has always been, no matter what tournament I'm fishing, is to get whatever last place the money is to first. If I'm in there and if it's 50th to first they're paying, and if I finish 50th to first and I bring a check home, that's a win for me. I mean, I have fished hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tournaments, and I've won 35 of them, right? So anytime you can get a paycheck is a win in my mind, no matter if it's crappie, bass, walleye, doesn't matter. That's the goal for me.
Yeah, that's interesting. I used to go around and around with that, and I still go around a little bit with Hallman when I talk to him, but I used to go around and around with that with Mark Jeffries, who would say, hey, if it's not a win, it's a fail. Like he went through a whole, but I think part of that was just him being Mark.
That's a good attitude.
I know, and it got the listen, but then like he would say some stuff off air where I'm like, you really believe that crap, don't you? But the fishing is a weird deal because you go out in a team game, right? Where you have sides, or you go and it's win or lose. Like, I mean, I know we're in 2023, and if you get into the kids' sports, sometimes it's, hey, everyone wins. But I'm saying for it is win or lose in a team. But the individual sports, I don't think you can look at individual sports as win or lose. Yes, you get to a point where if you're a Djokovic or a Tiger or something like that, it is win, or anything else is a loss. But there are so many other levels, and I think it's so individualistic with so many people. A win is different for each guy.
Absolutely. I mean, nobody wins every one of them. Even Jacob Wheeler. I mean, he wins a lot of them.
He didn't win it all this year. He won Angler of the Year, but he never won an actual tournament this year. But I'd say he won.
That's not easy, right? It's not easy to win. So for me, I mean, I've felt great. I felt amazing coming home this year from the MPFL with 12th place finish. I thought, oh man, this is amazing. I'm in 2 years into this deal, and I was second in Angler of the Year up to 4 events, and then I crapped the bed in one of them. But yeah, just anything in the paycheck and above is a win for me. I don't where I'm at in my life and my career, and I'm 50 years old, so I'm getting old. So I don't need to get a paycheck in these things. I don't need to win an event. I want to, right? It's completely different than a 19-year-old kid living in the back of his truck, and he needs that paycheck to pay for his next entries and all that. Not me. I want to do good. I want to learn. And me switching from the bass side is me continuing to learn, right? Find something you suck at and try to get better. If we don't do that in our lives, we're going backwards. Well, that's all I'm doing with this bass thing. I'm learning every single time I go in the water. I'm learning. And I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm ate up with bass fishing. I've always have been. I do the fantasy fishing. We pick classic winners. With my buddies, just everything bass fishing. My whole life has been about bass fishing. I did crappie fish for 30 years there with my father. And it was a way for me to fish tournaments. As a young man, I was broke, didn't have any money, and my dad would go pre-fish and pay the entries, and all I had to do was drive there Friday after work and get in the boat with him, and I got to fish with my dad all over this country for 30 years. The crappie tournaments, 99% of them are a team event, right? So there's 2 guys in the boat, and it was my father and I, and we were really, really successful for 30 years. We won 34 crappie tournaments in 5 different states. And the way we were doing it is we were fishing a lot like bass guys. When you think of crappie fishing, a lot of people think you tie to a tree, you throw bobbers out, you drink beer all day and all that. That's not what we were doing. We were fishing extremely, extremely fast as we possibly could. And I learned all this from watching Kevin Van Dam and these guys. And what we were doing, we were using 1 pole, 1 jig. We were fishing the visible timber, and we were fishing really, really fast. And all we were doing was trying to get those big crappie to react. And it worked for a long, long time. Then LifeScope came out and changed the entire crappie world. That's not why I switched. My father, selfishly, at 75 years old, said he was done tournament crappie fishing. Now, he still fishes more than anyone I've ever met in my life. He fishes every single day of the week. But the driving 8 hours, sitting in a truck at 75, and then pre-fishing, if you know, there's nothing like fishing tired. Fishing tired is a different kind of tired, and all the fishermen who do it know what I'm talking about. He said, I'm done. At 75, he selfishly retired. When he did that, I'm like, man, I still got my health. I can go. There he is with some giant crappie. I can go do this. I talked to John. I got in the NPFL, and it's been a whirlwind ever since. And I've absolutely, it's reflamed. It gave me a new spark for fishing. You know, the crappie was just kind of, yeah, whatever, another crappie tournament. I mean, no one gets to the very top of the food chain of a of a sport like crappie, and then I just quit. Most people wouldn't do that. Most people, that's too scary. I love that stuff. I love this challenge of bass fishing. I mean, I've gotten myself into the MLF Invitationals this year. I get to fish against Michael Neal and your guest yesterday, I believe, fishing Casey Ashley and Chris Lane and
Wheeler.
I mean, it goes on.
I saw a picture on here, Kevin, and I know. So I'm on your kevinrogers.com. And you're like, dude, these pictures are like old, but I don't care because it's on your website. But I saw this one. Hold on. I saw this one.
Young Jacob Wheeler and me. Is that on there?
That's big league right there. There you are, crappie fishing with Jacob Wheeler.
That is at Fort Gibson Lake in Oklahoma at a writers conference. When I was the Bobby Garland pro, I did a YouTube channel for Bobby Garland for years called Bobby Garland TV with Kevin Rogers. And Jacob was sponsored with Gene LaRue at the time.
I got you.
Conference at Fort Gibson. So I got to meet all those guys, hang out.
Were those hybrids or what are those? Those are some odd looking crappie.
Those are Fort Gibson black species crappie is what those are. Yeah, that's a long time ago. Yeah.
They're built. They look almost like rock bass. Do they not? Yeah. Am I wrong on that?
Oh yeah, they're pretty cool. Fort Gibson's a unique play. I didn't know if you knew that about Fort Gibson. Fort Gibson has different looking crappie than any.
Is that because it's the river crappie? Are they river crappie because they're on the Arkansas River?
Yeah, and most of those from Clear Creek up to the dam there at Hudson is where all those big black crappie live at Fort Gibson. I've won 2 tournaments at Fort Gibson there, and it was all up in the river. They relate to the current. We're going to turn this into a crappie show and bore the heck out of your guy.
No. So a lot of the listeners have gotten into the crappie deal because they know that I talk about it. So if I'm going to talk about it, it's going to be in the winter. That's not what I want to talk about the whole time. I want to get into the bass thing, but I want to definitely set this scene for the transition. So I cover this. Like that's my job. What I get paid to do is cover the bass fishing, tournament bass fishing, professional bass fishing scene. And I feel like the crappie scene, I felt like I should be able to know exactly what's going on over there, but it's in an entirely different world with a lot of parallels in it. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, it's different that they're all team events, and I hated that.
Okay, so can we make like a little diagram of where the crappie world set? So like you obviously have like BPT and Elite Series, and then you have like Invitationals, Opens, Toyotas, BFL, and then it works its way up there. So like how does that hierarchy work in the crappie world?
So like for the crappie world, there for a long time there was 3 organizations, just like you had NPFL, Bassmasters, and MLF. There was 3. one gentleman has come in and bought all of them. So
Oh,
one
wow.
guy, yeah, he owns them all now. He has the monopoly.
Oh, that's got to be massive industry shakeup.
Oh yeah, it's ridiculous. He owns them all, so it's all the same now.
Wait, let me ask you this: do you think that that's a good thing, or do you think that the competition between them is healthy? Because there's a lot of talk on the bass side about, hey, this all needs to be one umbrella. That way, the pie slices are not as. You
That's
like
ridiculous.
the competition? What do you think? Okay.
Yeah, you need competition, right? Everyone needs healthy competition is good for everyone, no matter what business you're in. I do construction. Good competition is what we need. If we didn't have good competition in the construction world, it would be easy and we'd get complacent and we would do the same crap all the time. Yeah, so competition is amazing. So for bass or crappie, so the crappie is all owned by the same guy now. So there's Crappie Masters, these different tournament trails. They had some amateur divisions, and then you had the big time. And I mean, big time, you can win, $50,000 in a crappie tournament. There was one year we made over 50 grand crappie fishing, which is pretty good. We won Angler of the Year several times, but they're all team events. And back in the day, you used to see guys spider rigging. That where they set the 8 rods out front and they'd slow troll with all the minnows and live bait. And I was always a one pole jig fisherman using the long 10-foot pole.
But you could do that in the same tournament.
Sure,
you would have
absolutely.
guys spider rigging, guys fishing with one rod, guys fishing with live bait, guys fishing with artificial. Okay.
Right. I would never, I mean, of course, minnows have caught more crappie than anything in the world. And I was just totally against the minnow. Because of my bass side, I wanted it to be pure. And if it was tough, I'd look at my dad and I'd say, one of us needs to put a minnow on, don't you? Right. Yeah. Meaning he needs to put one on, not me. And neither one of us would ever put one on. We won tournaments with one pole artificial when there was people trolling 16 minnows across the lake. Every lake is different.
And that's totally legal. Like you had all the different.
They did come out eventually in the last 10 years. They came out with a tournament trail that was one pole, one jig, artificial only. The first one they ever had, my father and I won it. And then we won the third one they ever had because that was our jam. We were the artificial kings. I was helping design colors and baits for Bobby Garland. I used complete Bobby Garland back then. And we were known as the artificial one pole guys. And it was a lot like the bass fishing. The only thing that's different about big reservoirs in the crappie is in the bass fishing world, there can be a 10-pound bass on the dam and there can be a 10-pound bass in the river, right? In the bass fishing, like Hartwell. So there's bass all over that thing. The crappie are not that way. The biggest crappie in every reservoir every crappie tournament I've ever won, I went as far away from the dam as I could possibly get.
Really?
Where the river opened up and made the first flat. That's where I won all 34 of my crappie tournaments were won right there in that first main flat. It holds bigger crappie. That's the difference. Bass aren't like that. Bass are big all over the lake. Crappie are not. Crappie
that's some juice right there.
Yeah. Oh, and every tournament guy that's ever done any good knows that. That's not a secret. But the weekend, like my home lake is Truman Lake here in Missouri, full of timber. You have clear water down by the dam, and you have muddy, dirty, dingy water up in the arms, right? And every single crappie tournament is always won far away from the dam as you could possibly get. That's just how it is.
That's good stuff. Same
with Fort Gibson. I've won 4 crappie tournaments in Oklahoma. Eufaula Lake that some of the Oklahomans listen to.
One of the best crappie fisheries in the country.
I would go all the way to McAllister and fish up in Gaines Creek.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's where all the big crappie live. Yeah, so it's different. So that's taken me a little bit. It's so weird. I've been a dirty, dingy water crappie fisherman my whole life. I was using 20-pound braid and 1/4-ounce heads and 3-inch baits catching these crappie, and I've switched to the bass side. I've become this.
So you're the Tommy Biffle of the crappie world.
And now I'm changing the bass world. I'm the super finessey 6-pound line, double uni knot and drop shotting and jerk baiting them in clear water. I've completely.
Oh, that's weird.
Changed.
Yeah, you think you'd be like a flipping, pitching, big Denny Brower type guy.
I know what I'm good at. I'm 50. When you get 50, you know what you're good at. You know what you're not. I know I'm not going to go behind these guys and throw a black and blue jig on the bank and beat them. I'm not going to do it. Right. I'm not that good yet. So I know I can read my life scope because of the crappie world. So every paycheck I got in NPFL this year, I was staring at the fish on my live scope. Even at 50, I still utilize the live scope. I like it. I love it. I'm the opposite of Randy Blockett. I think it's the greatest thing ever. I think bring on the technology. If you don't keep up, you're not keeping up. It's not going anywhere. So
is that a controversy in the crappie world as well?
No,
forward facing sonar?
Not anymore. It's every 99.9% of all crappie tournaments will be won with a jig on their nose.
So it completely changed the entire landscape of
Wiped it out. My dad, when live scope, he's standing behind me and I'm dropping a jig on those crappie nose. He's 75 standing with his rod and he goes, yeah, I'm done. I'm not doing this no more. I'm not going to sit here and watch you fish. And why would you? That's why I'm saying the crappie guys need to keep up, and they're not. They're falling behind. You're fishing for – if the guys who haven't crappie fished with live scope, they're dumb. They just go blah. They're just big blobs out there floating in the water. You just put your jig around their nose and they hit. No, that's not always. Of course, they're spooky, but the crappie are 50% easier to catch on live scope than the bass.
Are there guys in the crappie world who are, minnow and spider rig guys who are like,
it's done.
So that happened, 3-4 years ago? Overnight. There was a little bit of backlash and then everyone transitioned.
Guys tried to. They're the greatest crappie fisherman in the world. His name is Ronnie Capps, right? Capps and Coleman. They're the greatest crappie fishermen. They created this slow trolling method. They haven't won a crappie tournament since it came out.
Oh, wow.
It wiped out the trolling. The trolling was you were just guessing where they were at. You're hoping to get by.
Yeah. Well, I feel like it was the same thing. You're catching uncatchable fish, but you're using a bigger net, and so to speak, to just run it, or as opposed to going, oh, there's one, and then going over and catching it. So it's just the efficiency is through the roof.
It's unbelievable.
So wait a second. These guys were the KVDs. We got to go back. You mentioned 100%. This. This is interesting as hell to me because this is what I think people are afraid is going to happen in the bass world. But to some extent,
KVD won a tournament last year.
Yeah, right? To some extent. Yeah. But so who was it? These guys are the
Capps and Coleman. If anyone knows crappie fishing, they're the greatest tournament crappie fishermen of all time. They are the best.
Did they invent the spider rigging thing?
Yes, they invented it. They made it
perfected it.
Yeah, they had the 16-foot poles before anyone else. They were a machine. They were the greatest. They're older than me. So
do they have it now? The forward facing
sonar.
You will not
see a crappie tournament that is won without live scope ever again.
But it totally flipped the field as to how it was being won, who was winning it, the early adopters of the technology, the guys who understood it, and the ones who were able to be malleable and not say, screw it, we're good with what we're doing, are the ones that are catching them now.
We took guys that had been fishing crappie tournaments for 5 years who'd never even got a check that won a tournament as soon as they got live scope.
You think that's good? I mean, you think that's bad, or you think it is what it is? Like,
it is what it is. We're not using flip phones anymore, right? I mean, embrace it. I'm 50 years old. I'm embracing it. It's great.
I mean, I embrace it too, but I'm just talking about. I mean, it's
just like it's like 30 years ago, guys sitting around complaining about the flasher. It's the same thing.
But there weren't like emergency meetings and votes to make it illegal and things like that.
Dude, if you're a crappie fisherman and you've seen it, you can drop the jig. I can tell the head from the tail on a crappie.
Oh yeah.
It's amazing.
So who's the top guys now? Did I name a guy at the beginning is that Carlo?
Yeah, he's really good. Really good. He was one that completely benefited early on from the live scope. He embraced it, where I'm out there going, I don't understand yet. So it took me 2 years to even figure it out. So
who else is there? If you were to name the top 5 crappie guys going, I know this is controversial or whatever, but just throw out some names to follow.
There's a gentleman in Alabama named Eric Cagle. He's really good. Little Matthew Rogers, young kid. These are all younger. Is he
related to you?
No. Thank goodness. He's a hot mess. So he's a good kid. He's really good at it. There's a kid down in, there's a Jeffries kid that has won. He won 2 classics this year. He's from Grenada, Mississippi. So it's the younger generation where I can read them on live scope. I can see the crappie on live scope. I can catch them all day long. I can't catch them fast enough. And that sounds ridiculous because my whole career in crappie fishing was me going fast. Well, now that I'm old, when I pitch out there, it might take me 3 pitches to land on their nose. These kids are landing their jig on these crappies' nose every single drop. Their efficiency is unbelievable for these young kids, and they're blowing my doors off. It's unbelievable.
Wow.
So, yeah. Now the bass is completely different. You still have bedding tournaments, you have topwater tournaments, you have grass tournaments. That's why I like the bass. There's still this wide open array. Not every tournament is going to be one live scope. But I think you had Michael Neal on here, and he went through, his angler of the year.
Not very many. So this is not something where we're seeing the crappie world where it's like, oh my gosh, it's 100% of this stuff. What you're saying, and you're probably one of the few guys that can talk on the authority of this. Sure. There is no way that forward-facing Sonar can take over the tournament bass fishing scene like it took over the crappie scene.
Absolutely
it's just not going to freaking happen.
Okay, how are you going to live scope when they're on the bed?
Or in a bush or
in a hydrilla. Now you can see them in hydrilla a little bit, but it's not going to dominate. So this is my second year. I won my first bass tournament last year at Lake of the Ozarks. It was right at the tail end of the great big umbrella offshore jerk baiting thing. And I went and tried it in practice, and I didn't see any at Lake of the Ozarks. They were catching 28, 29 pounds at Lake of the Ozarks, live scoping, forward facing. I went down to the dam where all this, and I didn't see any. The next day it was a solo pro, which is a regional thing here in Missouri, Oklahoma, Arkansas, 125 boats. And I did what I did in crappie fish. I ran all the way up the river. My good buddy Blake Felix turned me on to these fish the week before. I turned my live scope off, and I threw my jig on the bank, and I caught 20 plus pounds. I won the tournament, not using my live scope. So it's not every tournament in bass fishing is going to be one like. Everyone knows that. It's a great tool. It's an amazing tool. You better learn it because there's a lot of tournaments that are going to be one with it for sure.
Mm-hmm. But you said you thought that your skill with it developed through the crappie fishing definitely helped with your transition to the NPFL and the MLF stuff over the last year and a half.
Yeah, the first year I started bass fishing, I didn't know what I was. I was a hot mess. I had every rod, every bait. I didn't know what I was good at and what I wasn't. And I started out last year in the NPFL going at Cumberland, and I said, I need to look at them. I have to see these fish. I know what a fish looks like on live scope. I know that it's not lying to me. I need to have a +1 jerk bait in my hand and a drop shot and look at these fish and try to catch them. So for sure.
And that's what you did. And then, I mean, heck, you were right in the mix for the Angler of the Year going into the final couple derb. I mean, was that a surprise to you? Were you like, holy cow, like I'm right there and I'm 18 months into my bass fishing journey?
No, I needed it. I need to justify being here, right? I need to justify to the bass fishing world that I belong to be here, right? I mean, I may never win a big event, but I want to do good. Everyone wants to do good. It sure makes your drive home a lot better. And you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
When you're driving 20 hours home from Florida and you got a paycheck. I've been to Florida twice now, and I've heard all these people say, I hate Florida. I hate Florida. I love it. I've never seen so many bass in my entire life on live scope than the 2 Florida events I fished, and I got a paycheck in both of them. Now I'm going down there next week. I'm gonna stop off at the headwaters. I'm gonna fish there for a week to get my Florida legs underneath me, and then go to Okeechobee. I think it's gonna be a little different with more grass, but I can't wait to go. I can't wait to go to Okeechobee. I've heard about it my whole life. You know, it's a historical bass fishery, and I've never been there. I can't wait to go.
And you're going a lot this year. 12, possibly 13 tournaments. You've decided to jump into the invitationals as well as the NPFL back for their 3rd season. I want to dive into that. We're going to take our first break of the show and we dive into it. I want to because, I mean, behind the scenes, there's been some questions. Is there going to be an NPFL? I mean, that's not, I don't think that's a secret. I don't think that let the cat out of the bag. Like there's been some changes, some format changes. You've got $100,000. How many guys actually signed up? How many guys haven't? What the deal is? Are you willing and able to talk about what's going on with the NPFL this year, Kevin?
Absolutely.
All right. We are talking with crappie legend and bass tournament angler now, Kevin Rogers, BTL, on a Tuesday, January 24th. We will be back right after this.
Introducing HDS Pro. Watch fish reacting to your lure live with Active Target 2. Get game-changing clarity in the megahertz range. with the new Active Imaging HD Sonar. Find the richest fishing spots with C-Maps charts. Take full control of your boat with the ultimate fishing system. HDS Pro. The more you see, the more you catch.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up. With the angler, design, function, and performance in mind, nothing on this new offering was compromised, and the only thing carried over from the previous version is the name. Based on the Soft Touch series hull that started with the flagship Jaguar, this new model is nimble and performs incredibly well at all speeds with either a 250 or 300 horsepower engine. Featuring a new 96-inch wide-body footprint, this hull measures out at 20 foot 7 inches in length. Industry-leading design coupled with tournament-winning performance. The Puma STS from Basscat. Feel the rush.
Everything you need, one legendary brand. Top one on Strike King.
Hey guys, Gerald Swindle representing the AFCO Hydronaut. This is the jacket I love wearing when times is tough, and I'm talking about the weather, not the fishing. The jacket, what I like, I got a double cup right here. I can seal up the bottom of my jacket because when you're fishing, you're holding your arms up. You're bad about getting water, it runs downhill. Everything bends good. I'm long arm. Look, it fits very comfortable. My arms is flexible. I've got the speed hood on, pouring down rain. I can get everything zipped up. One thing they did is they made plenty of pocket space. If you ain't got enough pockets in the Hydronaut rain suit, you just got too much stuff. From the water membrane, that's 30K, baby. 30 times the reason you ain't gonna get wet. Super warm. If it's cold in the wintertime, you put on your Hydronaut, you're gonna be a much more comfortable person. If you don't want to just look sexy at Dairy Queen, wear your Hydronaut. We got it from small to 5X. Most rain gear does not come in that many sizes. You got waist adjusting straps. We can make it fit you. No matter what the environment is, we want you to be comfortable. We want you to be dry. You gotta check it out. It ain't gonna let you down.
Elite Series Pro Daryl Gleason here. My Pro Guide batteries keep me going on those long tournament days and long practice days. Always plenty of juice, never fail. The best part about Pro Guide batteries, it's the people behind the company. They have over 40 years experience in the battery business, keeping all of us fishermen out on the water longer, catching more fish. Check them out at ProGuideBatteries.com.
What's up, Bass Talk Live fans? Brandon Polnick here. And ever since I won a couple Bassmaster Elite Series events on X-Zone Lures, I've been getting a bunch of questions of what makes them so special and different. And really, the truth is, it's in the details. The little details, things like no cheap fillers in their plastic. That gives you more lifelike action, more realistic and vibrant colors. But don't just take my word for it. Go to www.xzonelures.com and check them out for yourself.
All right, welcome back, BTL, on a Tuesday. Supposed to be a snowy Tuesday here in Oklahoma. 6 inches of snow expected in the area. Frank Scalish makes the journey down from Ohio. But you guys get a lot of snow up in Kansas City. Aren't you guys kind of right along that right on that line of you kind of like Oklahoma here, you get the crappy snow, like not enough to like cross country ski on, but like enough to be a pain in the butt a couple times a year.
Similar to your guys' weather, right? I'm only 2 hours from Grand Lake, so it's similar weather. Yeah, more ice, and we get it all. We get a little bit of everything.
All right, I got questions about the MPFL, but our listeners also have questions for you. So let's knock a couple of those out real quick, and then we'll get to the MPFL. All right. I will field one crappie question for Kevin Rogers.
I like it.
One crappie question only. And Frank Sal gets that crappie question. He said, "What are some good techniques for catching crappie in grass?"
Ooh, wow. I thought you were gonna answer it.
No. I'm not. I'm just throwing it out there to the expert. Like I said, we could do a whole show on this because what I don't think you realize is what you've done, what SoCup's done to some extent with me talking about what the number of guys have done is they've taken a whole group of guys who don't deer hunt or who deer hunt, but still keep their bass boats in the water. And they've discovered there's two major benefits of this deal with the crappie. One, it's like live scoping. It's like live scoping, forward facing technology, live sight, active target. It's like using your active target with a what is that called where they run with the parachute? It's like weight training with a parachute, right?
Sure.
If you're a sprinter. So the crappie are, and then when you get to the bass in the year and you clip that parachute off, you're like, oh my gosh. I am so accurate. I can put it on fish. You mean I'm cast into a brush pile with fish in it instead of a fish that's actually moving in an 8-mile-an-hour wind? So there's that benefit. Plus, it's freaking fun.
Well, and I've heard a lot of bass guys say, and I see them respond, like the Mark Davis. I saw one of his posts, and he was crappie fishing in the winter where he lives, and some guys were like, crappie fishing will not make you a better bass fishing.
That's BS. That's total
100%.
BS.
You're still on a body of water. You're still having to find the fish. You're still having to read your electronics. I agree with you. It's
more difficult. It helps you understand your forward-facing sonar. It helps you stay active on the water. And like I said, it's freaking fun. I'm not a hunter. When it gets to be October, I start, and I love that basically Halloween through April time period, and you get that cold snap and you're like, holy cow, it's gonna go down. It's the most relaxing, enjoyable thing that I could do, and I'm getting better as an angler. I don't know how I ended up on this freaking rant right now, but I ended up on it. But what I'm saying is
crappie fishing helps you become a better bass fisher.
This is how I got to it. There were some questions on BTL Bass Talk Live about crappie, but I think guys like you and a number of others, there's a big subculture of these guys who over the last 2 or 3 years have understood the same exact thing. And now they're going out and crappie fishing. I have BTL listeners that send me pictures of like, hey dude, I got into the crappie stuff 2 years ago. Look at this school that I found. Look at these crappie that I caught. And I go through it, they're like, dude, I've been out 4 times and I've caught 2. And I was like, I did the same thing. I was like, I did the same thing. It took me 6 months until I was like, I'm going to catch them today. It was like, I might be able to get on an easy one.
My favorite way to catch a crappie before live scope and now after live scope, my favorite way is hand-to-hand combat with braid. I use only braid. I use a long 11-foot signature series rod, of course, but in a 1/4 ounce jig head, which is a big lead head, and a 2-inch bait. And
Damiki bait.
Yes, that's what I've been doing forever. And I love catching them off of the timber. So I go to Lake Fork, I go to Lake of the Pines. Texas is the biggest crappie in the world live in Grenada, Mississippi, and those fish down there are like white bass. They move nonstop. The crappie in Texas will nose themselves up against a piece of timber, just like you can see them on live scope. I have a video of Lake of the Pines. I had 3 2-pound crappie just like this, and I reached down and caught all 3 of them, 3 different drops. I love when the crappie are nosed up against the timber. For the guys to answer his question, I never fish grass, so I'm the worst. I've never caught a crappie out of grass in my life. I live in Missouri. There is no grass lakes. There might be some down south, but I've never caught crappie out of grass. I love dirty, dingy, shallow water and the fish that are on the timber. I'm a timber guy when it comes to crappie fishing.
Did that whole rant that I just went on start with a question about catching crappie out of grass? I think it did.
Well, I was reading one of Mark Davis's posts where he was crappie fishing. All these people are saying crappie fishing doesn't help you become a better bass fisherman. Bull. Of course it does.
And then you even answered the second question because Matt Looney wanted to know if you'd ever caught a 2-pound crappie.
Oh, Matt Looney is my roommate, unfortunately, for the NPFL. I love Matt Looney.
Matt Looney also knows more about batteries than anyone else. And last year we did a show that I'll be honest, I was a little scared to do it. And I basically tagged it as Matt asks Matt dumb questions about batteries because he's with Pro Guide Batteries. And I'm very, I know embarrassingly little about the batteries, so much that I ran the AGMs last year. Even.
Oh, geez, don't do that.
Well, I'm not this year. I've got the lithiums. I lead that to say I've got the lithiums, and I had 2 or 3 questions that I called Matt to ask him, and I said, well, hell, it's been a year. Let's just get you on the show. So Matt is going to be tomorrow's guest on BTO. We're going to revisit that. We're going to ask dumb lithium questions now with Matt Looney. So Matt Looney from Pro Guide on the show tomorrow. He was also trolling you.
So my favorite is when every time I have any issue in my boat, I could blow my lower unit. I call Matt and ask him if it's my batteries. And he always tells me, Kevin, it's not the batteries. And he's always right. It's never the batteries' fault.
Oh, he was He was like, oh yeah, Kevin was convinced or something one time and it wasn't. I don't know. I'm probably not even supposed to talk about it, but there may or may not be a certain app that is or isn't available to where like these batteries are so smart now. Like I'm sitting here on BTL looking at every cell of my lithiums right now and know that they're fully charged. And it's not the Sea Monster app, folks.
Right.
It's freaking cool. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah. Pro Guide's coming out with some really cool stuff.
I mean, look, I could look at every single deal and be like, yeah, everything. I mean, there's literally nothing that could go wrong. I got full power on absolutely everything. And then I can go up here and I can change the battery and look at the other lithium, and I'm good to go. I'm doing BTL, and I know that if I want to go hop in, I'm good to go.
That's very cool.
All right. Did we cover that good enough?
Well, I know
before we got,
because I'm not a grass crappie guy. So
yeah, no, but I meant I got the question, and that's fine. NPFL, what the hell's going on over there, Kevin?
Yeah, let's talk about that. Before I talk about the NPFL, I want to say, for me personally, my whole life, Bassmasters is the elite. The elites are the elites. It's the greatest tournament trail ever. I think everyone who's ever bass fished, like you said, imagines themselves as a kid winning the Bassmaster Classic. I did it out of aluminum flat bottom 10-foot boat with my electric trolling motor, hand electric trolling motor, and 12-volt battery that I'd haul out of the back of my truck. And I would win the Bassmaster Classic because I'm using my silver Big O, right, crankbait. That's the only thing I threw as a kid.
Wait, no.
Favorite bait
the
of all
chrome
time.
blackback Big O.
Black. I still throw it today. I caught bass on it at Lake Hartwell.
You realize that's the only crankbait I used as a kid. That was the only thing my dad would buy. My dad would buy a bunch before we went up to Canada every year. Chrome, blackback Big O. To this day, 2023, this day, my dad's 75, 70. Do you think he just turned 76 years old? If I have a Crappie tournament, a Crappie Open, guess what his first question is? Did you throw the Big O?
I have a whole box. I went on eBay and bought every single old Big O I could find. I think the Big O was the original.
Like, do you have the original Fred Youngs?
Yes, I have those.
Like the big ones?
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
I still have some of the G finish, which is amazing. I wish somebody would come out with it. Frank has talked about it on this show. And if you don't remember the G finish Big O, that thing was awesome. It was like a bright silver. Frank will talk about it. It's cool. I still have some of those. I caught last year. I caught 5 keeper bass on a chrome and black Big O last year
in derbies.
Absolutely. 100%.
Oh, dude, I need to freaking break it out because I haven't thrown it. I've not thrown it in the derbies.
I think that's the cool thing about fishing. We all get in this, especially bass fishing, all this stuff and all this new stuff. And iCast, there's 7 million new lures. They still catch fish.
Yeah. You're right.
So anyway, NPFL, what I was going to say, the Bassmasters is the ultimate. The Opens is the way to get there. For me, what I found out, I fished a bunch of Toyotas. I fished some Opens. I really, really suck when there's a co-angler in my boat because I'm a human being and I care about the guy behind me, like way too much. I care if he had a good experience. I cared if he caught fish. I don't want to front end him. I don't put my boat, and people are, that's stupid. I can't do it. I cannot screw the co-angler. I can't do it. It's not in my nature. I'm probably one of the greatest draws ever. If you're at a Toyota event, you get me, you're going to get a check, and I'm not. I've had big bass caught out of the back of my boat 4 times in the Toyotas, and I've never gotten a check. I care way too much about the guy in the back of my boat. I shouldn't be like that. I know I should be, it's all about me. I can't do it. Yeah. So the Opens for me, I know I'm not good enough to go fish the Opens and make the Elite Series. What I love to, of course, I'm jealous of every person on the Elite Series, of course. There's 170 plus guys that think they can make the Elites this year, it looks like. Only, how many of them go? 9?
9.
Yeah. A lot of guys are going to get, they're not going to get in the Elites, right? So where I'm going is, I think a bunch of those guys, a ton of them, could make a lot of money in the NPFL if they put the money, if they put their efforts toward it. To me, I have fished hundreds and hundreds. I don't know how many. I tried to figure out how many tournaments I've actually fished in my life. I can't count that high. It's 500 plus. But
wow,
the NPFL, it runs the best tournament I have ever fished in my entire life. From the moment you get there in the morning to the time you weigh in, it is a well-oiled machine. There's no guessing. You know exactly what you're going to do, where you're supposed to be, and it's just a well-oiled machine. Every single person that has fished them will tell you that. It's a big brotherhood. There's no cutthroat. It's a bunch of good guys. Have they had some mess ups? Of course, right? It's a new tournament trail. They didn't get the numbers this year that they wanted. I can say this, there's going to be a tournament trail this year for the MPFL. They have 75 people signed up. There's 75 guys going to go fish for $100,000 first place. 20th place is going to pay somewhere $7,000. It is financially, it's going to be the best tournament trail out there, and no one's fishing it. And I think let this year pass. I think next year, I think there'll be a waiting list for the MPFL to get in. People laugh about, oh, the MPFL is the laughing stock. I've heard that several times in my DMs on my social media. I
haven't heard that.
Oh,
I really haven't.
I heard it all the time. I don't care. I fished it. I'm telling you, it is a great tournament trail.
Honestly, I mean, dude, I'm in the industry. I haven't heard that. I've heard more people that are more impressed that the MPFL has overcome the hurdles that it has with the canceled championship, with the scheduling and canceled days to start this past year, with overcoming when they announced and the 100,000 and the entry fee and all that. Like, I've heard more people be like, dude, it's amazing that they're still around and still thriving, supposedly with it. And then you look at the guys that have come out of it, with the dude from California who just
Brent Smith. You should have him on. He
was super cool. I met him. He made the top 10 at Hartwell with me.
Watch him this year. That guy,
Brian Smith and Soak Up and Keith Carson and Taylor Watkins. And you look at the guys that have come out of it. And then, obviously you had Elite Series guys in Jason Williamson and Patrick Walters come over and fish it this year. No, I feel like they've made a very, very good job of legitimizing the league over the 3 years. And they had a number of different things happen at any point. I don't think anyone would have blamed them if they said, hey, we're throwing in the towel at this point, and everyone would have been like, yeah, that's a legitimate reason for.
Yeah. And if Paul, Michelle, Al, and Brad, if you know them, that's not in them, right? They want to succeed. They're going to do whatever they can. I mean, they're there every single morning. The ownership group's there at 4:30 a.m. They're the first ones there. I'm on early riser, so I'm like the second boat in the water, and I sit there and see how hard they work. They're putting in the work for sure. Is it Tommy Sanders and Mark Zona? Of course not. There's only one of those. There can only be one of those. That's the ultimate. But man, there's a lot of guys. The 170 of these guys signed up to go lose money in the opens. These are some amazing fishermen that are way better than me. I made $30-some thousand in the MPFL last year. These guys can come do that in the MPFL. Now, I mean, look at me. I'm fishing the MLF Invitationals against Wheeler and all these. Would I rather do that or fish the MPFL? Where I'm at in my career, my goal is to get a check. I want to fish the MPFL.
And trying to get better. So what it looks like what they did then. So they had a schedule, and you got the MPFL came out with their schedule kind of before everything else did.
Bad mistake.
And then there were some conflicts with the invitationals. There were some conflicts with the opens. They were doing a $6,000. Let me see if I get anything wrong here. Jump in. They were doing a $6,000 entry fee with $100,000 payout and a championship at the end of the year.
Right.
And what they found out, what basically happened was you had deposits that were due for the opens and you had deposits that were due for the invitationals. So like me, before I make a cast in the opens, I got to pay $7,200. I got to pay $800 an open. And once that money's in there, if I'm like, hey, yeah, I decided not to fish it, then I don't have to pay the remaining $1,000, but I eat that $800.
Right.
So then what ended up happening was all these dates that your deposits had to be in came and went. So guys are now signed up for the invitationals. Guys are now signed up for the opens, and the MPFL went, okay, we are lacking our numbers because even though we went up to $100,000, we also increased the entry fee to $6,000.
Right. And you came out with your schedule first.
And so it was on top. So then what they did was they said, hey, we'll drop it back down to what, 5,200, 5,300.
Yeah, 5,200.
Was it 100,000 originally?
No,
it was only 50,000.
Right, it's 50.
Okay, so here's what they did afterwards. Sorry, you should have jumped in. I told you
Sorry.
if I got anything wrong, jump in, Kevin.
I'm trying to keep up.
So then they went down to 52 or 5,300 for the entry fee and upped the first place payout to 100 grand. But in order to get the guys who wanted to do it, they would have to eat $5,000 to $8,000 in deposits to go back and sign up for the NPFL. So then the NPFL go back to the table and they restructured the schedule a little bit so more guys could get in. And that's kind of where we are right now, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the timing was bad on their part. They're doing everything they can to keep going, which they did. Their timing was bad. They did move the first event, what helped me greatly. I was going to have to miss one of the events because they had Amistad, the first event for the NPFL, on top of Clarks Hill. They now have moved Amistad to the championship and brought in Pickwick for the first event. And my schedule, I'm going to be able to fish all 12 of these, both tournament trails, without overlapping. I do have a couple where I leave one event and go to the other, which is fine. They're not on top of each other. So it actually helped. Keith Carson signed up after they did that. He joined back up, which I hate to see because you don't want to compete against him. That guy's
he's pretty good.
So I'm joking. It's great. You want all these. You want to fish against the best. Honestly, I'm joking about that. But yeah, so they've had some bumps. They know they need to straighten out and be consistent each year. But if you are the third chair in the bass fishing world, make your schedule come out third. I mean, it seems pretty easy, but I mean, that's me talking. I don't own the business. So
I hear you. So you're basically fishing the trail that's got like the best payout and then the trail that's got the worst payout.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
The invitationals, because the invitationals sucks. There's no other way to say it when it comes. I mean,
I'm fishing them. I love them. You said that. Not me.
I know it's not, it is gutted.
They do pay down 50 places, I believe.
Correct.
Yeah. So I'm looking for 50th place at Okeechobee here in a couple of weeks for sure. So.
God, you got to be excited though. That's a lot of bass fishing at a high level, Kevin.
That's what what it's going to do is going to take away from not all my fun fishing. I have a little aluminum boat with a 9.9 that I can come home from work and I'll go fish. I have a little hammer lake, which is full of 4 and 5 pounders, 5 minutes from my house. I bought this boat just for that lake. So I'll still do some of that, but it'll take away from any exploratory. I used to go like 2 weeks. I would go to Texas. I would just open my phone. I just go lake to lake to lake. I can't do that anymore, but that's fine. I want to do this while I can still walk. I'm 50, so
you got like another 30 years in you.
I hope so. Well,
your dad was doing it. Is still what, mid 70s?
75 standing.
That's another quarter century, man.
He's in a lot better shape than me. I need to get in better shape.
You'll be a grizzled bass veteran by then.
Oh yeah, I feel like it already.
You'll be bitter. You'll be angry. You'll be broke.
Yeah, that's true.
You'll be complaining about everything.
Absolutely. I hope not.
The joy will be completely sucked out of you.
It is amazing coming from the crappie side of the bass side, how much I'm not hating on the bass guys, how much they actually complain is absolutely amazing to me. I didn't hear the complaining on the crappie side.
Really?
Yeah. No, you just went crappie fishing. It was like a social event. There's a lot of, it doesn't seem like you're ever going to make the bass guys happy. No matter what, you can make it $1 million payout and someone's going to bitch about it. It's unbelievable. It's weird to me, but I just show up, smile, go to the weigh-in, whether I have 2 fish or 20 pounds, and I'm just glad to be there. I just love it. I love it.
Okay, so let me ask you this then. You were really good on the crappie side, one of the best. Do you feel like if you're a good angler, regardless of what species, it translates to other species within reason? Like if you're good in catch fish, you're good in catch fish. It might take you a little bit to get the hang of it, but like you don't suck at crappie and are great at bass, or great at bass and suck at catfish. Like if you want to get like, do you feel like there are just, you either get it or you don't?
Sure. I think it's passion. It's passion, right? It's there's some guys that are, I think I heard Zona say some people are killers, right? They have the killer mindset when it comes to tournament bass fishing. That's not me. I don't have a killer. I don't wake up and go, I'm going to beat you today. I don't have that. I don't.
John Sokup does.
Yes, sir. Yes, he does. I got to room with him the last 2 years at the NPFL. I'm going to miss that guy because he thinks the opposite of me. I'm happy. I get up. I'm ready to go. He is. I am going to kick your butt today. I don't have that. Now, that's a killer instinct, but there's also passion. If you're passionate about something, no matter what it is, if it's chess, if it's bowling, whatever it is, you can become good at just through like anything, right? Like working out or whatever it is. If you're passionate about it, I think you can be good at it for sure. But there are people that are just naturally gifted. You're seeing that in the bass fishing world right now. There's a guy out there that's just, he's blowing everyone's doors off. John has it. I can't wait to see John on the Elites this year. It's going to be awesome.
I think I've said this before. I think he's going to do some stuff with this forward-facing sonar that make everybody go, what?
Yeah. I think Patrick Walters has it too. He is definitely up there.
I think John's better than Patrick. I think John is the best forward-facing sonar guy on a professional tour right now.
He gets it.
Like I would put money on that. Like if they were to have if you were to take everybody with active target, everybody with the Humminbird imaging, and everybody with the live scope, and have a skills challenge somehow, like in an Olympic sized pool with stuff,
he would put it on their nose.
Soak up takes the gold on that. Good. Like I'm willing to go out on the limb and say that.
It's good. At Watts Bar this year, I had a set of stumps underneath the water. And I'm coming in there. I got a paycheck. I was doing really good. I was catching all my fish on active target or live scope. I actually use a live scope on the stumps, throwing a 10-inch worm on these stumps. And my last spot before weigh-in, I need one fish to jump up. I come in there. There's Patrick and John both on my stumps. So I go, okay, I'm going to the weigh-in. Yeah, I'm done. So I'm very fortunate that I'm 50 years old. I own a construction company in Kansas City, Missouri. We do government, healthcare, design, build government work, which is very, very difficult. I have some of the most amazing employees ever.
You got a bunch of employees.
I got a bunch of employees.
You have a high stress job with a lot of responsibilities.
Yeah, absolutely. But I have, it is amazing. These people that I've hired, they eat the week. If there's a weak employee, we fire them and get another one in. They take care of each other. They work for each other. It's great to see. They don't see that very often. They voted our company top 10 best places to work in Kansas City, Missouri. So I've got some people like they'll, hey, sorry to bother you when you're fishing, boss, but I got a question. It's great. I couldn't, and where I am in my life with my marriage and my professional career.
And you got 7 kids too.
We have 7 children. 7 children, a bad fishing habit, and a construction company.
Fishing 2 trails with a construction company.
My wife is a saint. I owe her all the credit. Most women wouldn't put up with this crap, right? There's a lot. It's a lot. She supports me and says, go do it. When I do bad, she feels bad, right? My first year out on MPFL, I sucked so bad. I did horrible. And she wasn't used to it, right? She's used to the Crappie world. Here's a check. Here's a trophy. Here's a new sponsorship. Here's everything else. And I suck. So she's like, well, this is weird. I've never seen this Kevin before. So she's huge to have that support for sure.
Are you good for one more segment?
Absolutely.
Okay. Because when we come back, you mentioned the sponsorship. You mentioned that one of the things that when I saw you at that first lake, like I'd heard about you obviously through Soka, but I was like, holy cow, here's a guy that has like, we had like the stickers on the same place on our trucks, like the same boat, the same rain gear and sponsors. And I was like, this is weird. It's like, I'm like looking at it's anyway. So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about how your personal sponsorship, has it transitioned from the crappie to the bass world? Have you had to find all that new stuff? It's Tuesday, January 24th, talking with Kevin Rogers on BTL. And we will be back. We got new commercials, Kevin. I got 3 new commercials. I love it. I like the new commercials. I'm always trying to get the new commercials in to keep it fresh. So we'll be back, BTL, right after this.
I'm the kind of guy that never leaves a house without a pocket knife, and Gamakatsu's come out with the EDC series of knives. EDC stands for everyday carry, so whether you're on the water or off, you can always have it with you. The best thing about it to me is that assisted open feature. With this D2 blade, you've got it right here at your fingertips. So if you can't find your scissors, you need to cut a knot, you need to cut your braid, you've always got it. Make sure you check it out. Never leave home without your Gamakatsu EDC knife.
Preparation is key to success. And that preparation starts well before you ever hit the water. You're only as strong as your connection to the fish, and your line is that critical connection. Confidence in your line every minute of every day on the water is a necessity, and failure, it's not an option. Sunline makes the fluorocarbon, nylon, and braided lines to give you the strength to guarantee your confidence.
The great thing about the new Sensation soft plastics from Big Bite Baits, heavily scented, super soft, buoyant, comes in 7 great new shapes. I've got a couple of them of my signature series, the cliffhanger worm and the ramtail craw. Great for a flipping jig, football jig, swim jig, all that. Several other great shapes. Really excited about it. We've worked over the last year, catches fish all over the country, and I think it's going to catch fish for people everywhere you try it. The Spro Little John crankbait has been around for almost 15 years, and it is one of my go-to crankbaits whenever I need a fish in the boat, so you can never have enough new colors. That's why Spro's coming out with a handful of new colors, including Pearl Shad, which has this bleached out white look, but it's got this pearlescent, really pretty. We've got Copper Shad, which looks amazing in the water. It's got that purple flake on the back, really pops in the water. And then if you want some real pop, we've got Sparkle Shad, nothing but sparkles all over this thing. And then last but not least, we've got the matte Sexy Shad, just a really different looking color for a crankbait. So you want to give them a little different look, that matte Sexy Shad is definitely the one to go with. All these colors are available in the original Little John and the MD.
Are you looking to install your own fishing electronics? The solution is the Bass Tank Power Harness. It takes the guesswork out of installation. No more voltage issues or interference. Designed by an engineer so that you can get professional results right there in your own garage. Installation done right with the help of the Bass Tank Power Harness. You can feel confident knowing that your installation was done right. The Bass Tank Power Harness. Give us a call or order yours today at thebasstank.com.
Have you considered purchasing new electronics for your rig? The type of mounts you choose to protect your investment should be part of the decision-making process. No matter if you prefer 1, 2, or 3 graphs up front, Beatdown Outdoors has a solution for you. Adjustable, versatile, rigid, and made in the USA. What's your ultimate electronics setup? Check out the full selection of Beatdown Outdoors products by visiting beatdownoutdoors.com.
Having confidence in your tackle while on the water is one of the main things to success, in my opinion. In the last couple of years with Denali, I've had just that. From anything from spinning rods, casting rods, tungsten products, even now to casting and spinning reels, I have the confidence to go out there and get the job done and know that all my equipment is going to handle it and do it just the way I want it. The thing about Denali is you've got great quality products at a great price point, so make sure you check them out.
All right, welcome back. BTL on a Tuesday, talking with TNPFL and MLF Invitational Angler. Wow, that's a lot of acronyms, and I got it through it. Kevin Rogers.
Man,
so I think the deal was, so they have to go with TNPFL, like the national, because I think there was some sort of like cricket league over in some country or something like that that was known as like the NPFL. So they had to go with the TNPFL back in the day. But one of the commercials that we ran there, and a lot of our listeners are very familiar with it, was the Beatdown, which I was kind of proud of my voiceover there. I actually came up with the script and everything. And I think that was Brad from the TNPFL that was actually in that. So that commercial like has no text with it. So I had to come up and then voice over it. But something that I didn't realize, you said you had one of the first, and we've had Blake from Price from, he's been in studio and kind of gone through the whole process of how it's like a family business and all that, but you had like the first kind of finished prototype done.
Yeah, he chased me down on the lake one day. They're big crappie fishermen. They're from Sedalia, Missouri. That's where all those are made. So it's close to Truman Lake. So I've known Blake and for a long time through the crappie fishing world. I was fishing and he following me in his boat, and I stopped. He's like, man, I got this mount I want to show you. That's when LifeScope first came out. So he was on top of it, and I looked, I'm like, man, I do not want a mount that moves. I don't want that. That sounds ridiculous to me. I kind of poo-pooed it at first, and then I put it on, help him out. Fremont, who's gonna turn that down? I went up to Mille Lacs Lake and went out there on that freaking ocean of a body of water, and that thing never moved. The way he has designed this thing is the way telescoping mount should be. I crank that thing up every single time I go fishing. I am so used to when I'm throwing my jerk bait or a buzz bait, I still have it up and I'm looking at it nonstop. I'm just used to it being up now to where I've never hit it with my rod or my reel. It is made correct. It's awesome. It is the ultimate for sure.
Yeah. So you probably spent more time. Yeah, you have spent more time than anybody with your graph mount. What is it? 33, 36 inches. It's like think of it like a standing desk, right? So your mount's actually like in front of you. It looks weird. It looks like power poles did when they first came out, where everybody was like, those things look stupid. How do they not hit the motor? How did blah, blah, blah. I've said this. I think that the telescoping mounts obviously beat down first to the game with a functional, well-made quality mount. I mean, they're $700. They're not cheap.
I was watching Red Crest here yesterday. I had it recorded on my DVR, and I'm looking at Dustin Connell and these guys looking all the way down, live scoping.
I think that's done, man. I'm saying these mounts are expensive. Like they are. There's no other way around that, but they're well made. And that's the key. You're not ended up with this. And so I think, and I said this off air, I think this is what you're going to see with the telescoping mounts, specifically the beat down, since they're the best in the first of the market like this is, they will be the power pole of the mounts, and everyone will have one. And it'll be like, hey, remember when we used to look 6 feet down to see our graphs? And
I don't do it. I'm so used to it being up now. It helps my neck. I think eventually they'll come on your Bass Cat boat, right? It'll be an option you put on your Bass Cat. That's what it has to get there. Staring down, the forward facing sonar is not going away. We got to keep up, right? And well, that beat down first to the market, it's amazing. And you can do one, 2, or 3, single, double, double stack or triple stack with the shorty, and they got all sorts of other stuff. But you're the first one. I actually was in the boat with you. Because we spent a day crappie fishing, and it was incredibly impressive how good you are. It's very impressive. But that was kind of the first full day that I had ever spent with one. It looks ridiculous. It looks silly
where we just stand up there, but it doesn't get in the way.
It does not. Pretty awesome. Yeah.
And then what cat are you running this year?
I have the new. So this year I ran the new Puma, the brand new one. I was a Cougar guy forever. So this was my first non-Cougar Bass Cat. I have the new Puma. Man, it's amazing. I have another one coming. I have another one coming in a month. So I ordered the Puma again. It is quite the fishing machine. It is unbelievable how wide it is, how the fishability. The one complaint about a Bass Cat is how narrow it was up front. Well, the new Puma winds it up. It's a great bass boat. I'm just lucky enough. I've been sponsored by Bass Cat as a crappie fisherman for going on 10 years now. So I was a Champion guy before that. Whenever Champion went out of business is when I joined Bass Cat. I'm getting so old, it all of it runs together. But I'm just proud to be part of the Bass Cat family as being a crappie fisherman. So
how many? There's not that many of the crappie guys that are cats.
No.
Guys. So.
When I I was at the top of the food chain in the crappie world, and when my dad retired and I said I'm going to do this bass thing, I was a little hesitant, a little scared what my sponsors were going to say. Were they not going to sponsor me anymore because I wanted to go chase this bass stuff? And it's actually been the opposite, which surprised me. My fishing career is exploding now because I have the knowledge of all the crappie fishing. Right now, where I'm at with the crappie fishing is I love to teach. I love to do the videos and tell them about the settings of the live scope and all that, more so than the competing side of it. So I still love that. But the sponsors have really come through big time this year. I signed up with Omnia Fishing to be an ambassador for them.
You're with Omnia too.
Yeah,
I'm excited to work with them.
Yeah, they're launching their crappie line, and I'm a part of that. Plus, I'm going to give reports for each tournament I go to. I'm good, bad, or ugly. I'm going to share it on OmniaFishing.com. I signed a big deal with Lucky Strike Lures. The old school Lucky Strike is rebranding and coming out with what's going to be an awesome, one of the largest lines of crappie baits through Lucky Strike I've ever seen. So I'm going to work with them on the crappie side and the bass side. So extremely excited.
I don't think people understand. Explain all of the Signature Series stuff you have or have had on the crappie side. Like you have everything.
Yeah,
like you have anything that KVD has had on the bass side, right. You have had on the crappie side with a Kevin Rogers name attached to it,
sure.
Correct?
Yeah, I've had rods. I've had my own rods, a couple different series of rods. I have just the regular lead head. There's a lead head for Demiki rigging. You can actually buy at Tackle Warehouse. It says Kevin Rogers Signature Series. It's a crappie lead head, but it's great for Demiki rig. It's got a mustat hook in it, strong as an ox. You can catch anything on it. I have hair hand-tied jigs. I've had plastics. I've had just about everything in the crappie world. So, yeah, I've had a little bit of everything. I'm moving now to Lucky Strike, going to help them build their crappie. I'm excited to work with them. I now get to put on two hats. I can put my crappie hat on, my bass hat, and so most people couldn't transition between that, but I got a construction company and 7 kids. Wearing different hats is not a big deal to me. I like the stress, I guess. So,
So you said goals were to cash checks.
That's it.
Yeah. You don't have any expectations other than that. Each event you're looking for a check, and if you're able to accomplish that goal, the end of the year goals take care of themselves.
Yeah, and being new to this, I've had so many tournaments where I'm losing a lot of bass. I like a lot. Like I'm still like in the crappie world, I'd thump and I'd boat flip every one of them. 3 pounds, no net. I'm not a no net guy. Once the crappie hit, I got the momentum going with that rod I have, and I boat flip them in the boat. Bass are a little crazy. We all know that. They're all nuts. And my primary bait has 3 treble hooks on it. And treble hooks and bass suck. I don't care what anyone says. It stinks. You undo your drag. You do whatever you want. You get all these different rods. They still come off. And I've had some massive bass come off in tournaments this year that I would have been in the top 10 a lot of events where I could see the bass. And I'm talking about a jerk bait. I am a jerk bait fanatic. Like I have 3 jerk baits tied on every single time I go bass fishing. I don't think I get to do that at Okeechobee. Hopefully I do. I don't know. Probably not. But yeah, the treble hooks and bass just suck. And I'm still trying to figure that out because I can see the fish. I'm getting the bite. I just can't get them in the boat.
Without a doubt, the comeback lure of the decade is the jerk bait. And it is, there were a couple guys. Obviously, you look at what Kelly J has done on the Elite Series, and they're in Alabama. Sneaky guy like a Greg Vinson who throws the thing year round. There's a Kate Kevin has showed what he's done with the lily pads during non-traditional ways to fish it at Ross Barnett, and obviously the smallmouth. But dude, like that thing has just seen a resurgence across the board and across all brands. Like everybody just. They used to be like wiggle warts. Like you take them out of the boat in May.
Right.
Now they start getting good in May.
There's not a tournament this year that I fished where I didn't catch a keeper bass on a jerkbait.
Muddy water, cold water, current, rivers, lakes, shallow, deep, riprap, docks, rocks. You can catch them on everything on a jerkbait now.
So the life scope just showed you that how deadly it is. Now there are days where they won't touch it. I went to Grand Lake with Matt Looney here this week. They wouldn't touch a jerkbait. I tied on 17 different colors and couldn't get them to bite.
Would they follow it?
Oh, of course, all the way to the boat. Biggins, right? You got Sheldon Collins down there catching 20 pounds. I can't even catch a keeper. So you turn a life scope and you catch fish. No. Absolutely not.
He's another dude the MPFL's been really good for, Sheldon Collins.
A good kid. So I think you're going to keep seeing these guys bring baits to life with the forward-facing sonar. You're seeing the swim jig out deep. I think you're going to see a chatterbait out deep. You're going to keep seeing these baits. The Demiki rig, everyone thinks you got to drop right on their nose. I think casting small crappie style baits to the fish, bringing it over their face, the bass,
and then spiraling it down on a semi-slack line.
The spy baits. I think there's a whole world that the bass fishing hasn't seen yet. that is just going to get better and better as these guys are so amazing. They're going to come up with stuff you never thought of for these forward facing sonar fish. Cause there are days where they won't hit a jerkbait.
Mhm.
What else do you throw? But the jerkbait is still pretty amazing because it suspends and stops in their face and they can't stand it. I love it.
That's good stuff. People want to keep up with you this year. Obviously, you've got a lot going on, a lot of tournaments. Where can they find all of their Kevin Rogers updates, informations, posts, etc.?
Yeah, that's Kevin Rogers Fishing on all of them, of course, on Instagram and Facebook. Got a huge Facebook following. It was popular before Instagram. So Facebook, we got 30,000+ followers on Facebook, and we put I put some ridiculous memes up there. I like being humorous. Put still a lot of reels, a lot of tips and techniques for crappie fishing and stuff like that.
And bass fishing now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Fishing is fishing and it's fun. I mean, I'm doing all these tournaments not to be the biggest name in bass fishing because it's fun. This is what I love to do. I cannot wait to get in my boat and head to the headwaters here next week in Florida. I can't wait to get there. It sounds cool. I can't wait to see it. It's like nothing I get to fish here in Missouri, and bass fishing is fun. I'm going to keep it that way.
I'm working with someone else, someone that you know, for a pretty cool tournament either later this year.
Oh yeah. Yep.
I think it would be freaking badass.
I do too.
I keep it that one under the hat for now, but basically I have to make sure to work around whatever your schedule is, because with your skill set, you have to be a part of this thing.
I agree. Make me a part of it. Yes.
You got anything else before we wrap it up on a snowy, cold, wet Tuesday and you head in to take care of some
Thanks for having me. Huge fan of BTL. I love it.
Dude, I enjoyed it. I felt like I ranted a little bit during the show.
It was awesome. It was good.
But I enjoyed the heck out of it. Hell, I'll just keep you on as we go out. So this has been another edition of BTL for Tuesday, January 24th. Kevin Rogers.
Thank you.
From his
living
room. Like living room. Oh, if that's your living room, I'm jealous. That looks freaking fantastic. You got you got ducks, 3-pound crappie, ducks, deer, weapons, all sorts of stuff. All right, this has been another edition of BTL. We will talk to everyone tomorrow. Matt Looney with your battery questions. See ya.